Welcome back to the Rebuilt Parish podcast. In today's episode, we've got Terry from ACST Catholic and Brandon Hollern from Church of the Nativity. We are talking all things technology, parish renewal, conference, and we're talking about how technology can help make you and your parish better at making disciples. You're going to want to tune in to hear Brandon and Terry's thoughts on what St. Paul would have to say if he knew that we had all of this technology. We will see you inside the episode. Well, hi, Terry. Hi, Brandon. Thanks for joining us on the Rebuilt Parish podcast today.
Thank you, Melissa. Great to be here.
Thanks.
All right. Well, Terry, we're going to have you kick it off. Could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your role at ACST Catholic?
Sure, happy to. I just by way of a little bit of background and hopefully some credibility, after a number of years in business, I worked at several different Catholic-related businesses. I actually was at ACS Technologies years ago as the parish data system brand manager, so people may recognize that product. My journey took me to Our Sunday Visitor, where I was the executive director of marketing and sales, and got engaged with everything from our offertory solutions, but also our publishing and our curriculum products. And my journey took me to Catholic Leadership Institute, where I got more engaged deeply with our leaders and thinking about leadership and what it means to be, overseeing our religious organizations, our bishops and pastors. And all of that's been kind of a faith journey as Cradle Catholic. I've been finding my way, hot and cold from time to time, but much of it in search of discipleship. And that journey led me back to ACS Technologies, where now I have the pleasure, the extreme pleasure of being able to serve as general manager of a business in ACS Technologies that is ACST Catholic. And we are the function that is expressly focused on accompanying Catholic organizations and Catholic leaders in helping to support and engage people in the faith.
Oh my goodness, this is exciting. So you've got quite the well-rounded Catholic career here. So you are so comfortable and familiar in the Catholic space, not just the tech space, but the Catholic space overall.
I have seen and been engaged with a lot of different organizations, both wonderful apostolates like Rebuilt Parish, but also at the parish and diocesan level. And I just have great hope for our faith and deep respect for the leaders and the ministers who work in our parishes and dioceses. It's amazing what everyone does. So lots of opportunity to talk about experiences, but also what might be possible.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, Brandon, we've had you on the podcast before, and we've got even another upcoming guest spot for you. But, we've just got to bring you back every now and then. So could you share a little bit about your role at Nativity and how you work with ACST Catholic and what that looks like?
Sure, of course. I'm Brandon. I'm the director of finance and technology at Church of the Nativity and for Rebuilt Parish. I've been a member of Church of the Nativity for 21 years now, but on staff for 10 and a half, going on 11 years. And I have the honor and privilege of helping really behind the scenes to make things smooth for the parish. So at one of the areas that I focus on is our church management system, which is ministry platform. And that's where we engage with ACST Catholic to help our members become growing disciples of Jesus Christ. And so a lot of what we do on the back end is focused on that, on making disciples.
Amazing.
I'm going to jump in. Brandon keeps us really on our toes, and we're grateful for that.
Happy to play a part.
I'm excited for this conversation because Brandon's been talking about ministry platform for years. So I'm excited to see where this goes and to hear from your end too, Terry. So Let's talk a little bit more about what ACST Catholic does. We know you've been serving parishes for a long time, but how do your platforms help parishes with organization, engagement, and measuring growth?
Uh, yes, we have been in business as a company for over 45 years. And in the Catholic space, actually through the acquisition of Parish Data System just 20 years ago. But Parish Data System was established about the same time as ACS Technologies was. And that became really well known and is still a really well established church software throughout the country. But we have other, just by way of background, we have other products that people might recognize in the space of church management. There's also ACS. Many Catholic parishes still use the ACS products, Realm, and now Ministry Platform, which we're here to talk about today. And I think it most expressly is the one that answers your question. I'll just diverge for just a second to say we also have a number of services we offer that are consulting services, but also hosting and cybersecurity services, bookkeeping services, and a strategic planning software called Mission Insight. So there are lots of things that can help, engage and also serve our parishes. Mission Insight could be used to identify people in the community, age groups or single parents or particular areas of mission opportunity. So that's one that isn't really core to the conversation, but it is very helpful in allowing parish leaders to see and know who's in the community and how it relates to who's in the parish. So you can get ideas on messages or potential, as I said, mission. And Ministry Platform, to me, is the right system for today's church and for where we are going as a church. I often refer to Monsignor Shea's book and think about moving to apostolic times and apostolic age, which really is core to personal accompaniment, engagement, more effectively knowing when we actually need to take action or not allow anyone to fall through the cracks. Ministry Platform is both a database and relational management software and communications. So through that, there are many ways I think that we really do serve parishes and help with engagement and help parishes with opportunities to then personally work with parishioners to deepen their faith and build their community.
Amazing. Well, Terry, I think we're going to have a whole separate conversation about the mission software because I have a million questions going through my head and we definitely don't have time for those today, but we'll have to schedule another time to talk about that because I want to know more and I'm sure our listeners want to know more about this software that can help serve them. But Brandon, I'd love to hear from you. Ministry Platform is that database that you've been using. How long have you been using that at Nativity and how has it helped you to operate more effectively?
Sure. We've been on Ministry Platform since November of 2012. So little over 12 years. And we've progressively grown the system to encompass everything that's happening at the parish. And not only that, but we do use, we get our hosting for our platform from ACST Catholic. We also have our mobile app. If you go on the App Store, on Roku or Apple TV, we use their platform for that. That also plugs into Ministry Platform. And then finally, we use a software called Growth Method, which helps us to keep people from falling through the cracks. We really focus on newcomer assimilation and communication with those newcomers or people who are just taking a step in discipleship and how to usher them through the process. So we use a full suite of products. They're all, again, in mind with just helping make disciples and really lowering barriers of entry using software to help make it easy for people to take a step in discipleship.
I love that. I think that's key right there, Brandon. Lowering the barrier to entry and making it easier for people to take a step in discipleship. What a great way to make disciples. I love that.
One of the things I'll just jump on, if you don't mind, Melissa,
yeah.
Since we multi-conversation, Brandon and Nativity have been very effective in employing systems to know when to be in person. And I think it's so important for us today to know how to do that, to really be thinking of this as a core resource, not just a place where you get reports out of. And so the whole use of the system has become something that should be more proactive and more interactive. Brandon has been really a leader in seeing ways to do that and to help make sure that it's useful for the parish, so that, regardless of the activity, whether it's a volunteer or it's a personal ministry or it's a group, that they have ways of helping people to be engaged in those things. So definitely lowering the barriers and also just sort of maintaining that relationship.
I think that's so important. And Terry, here's a question I have for you. We know that technology is always evolving. So what innovations are you using at ACST Catholic, and how are you helping parishes stay ahead in ministry?
Well, I believe, first of all, that the system we have is an advancement and a change in culture and thinking for parishes. So just it alone is a shift. Because as we're mentioning, we're talking about something that is not reactive. We're not reactive to it and pulling information out. We're thinking about how it can tell us what we need to know in advance so we can actually minister. So that alone actually is a big step forward for parishes that are using what I would just call a more traditional church management system. This is a relational system. So that alone. Going forward, I don't want to scare people away, but we're doing a whole lot with AI, generative AI, to say, how can it be used in ways that are appropriate and useful to make it simpler for tasks that might be repetitive, or finding information that might need to be useful, or restructuring, or at least suggesting an email or a newsletter or that type of thing. And some of that's been incorporated into our systems. And we have a lot more we're doing just generally about how can AI be harnessed in a way that's positive, and it has the right boundaries around it for how we want to use it for the church. And I'll just go on, we are also thinking 10 years out about, what needs to happen in the future. And really the sort of easy answer to that is that the person doesn't even really know they're logging into a system. That, it's not like you're going into this thing and it's our software that we have. It is, but it isn't. Like, if we can take away this perception that I'm going into something to use it and it's just part of how I interact, that's really where we're trying to go for how we serve the church.
That's incredible. Now, Brandon, you've gotten a chance to use this for a long time. Do you ever offer feedback to Terry and the team on how things are working, or maybe give some insights on what you'd like to see?
I do not want to open up my tickets in their platform because I probably have too many. But yeah, it's really a partnership. And it has been, for the last 10 years as we've grown with the system. We're learning. I have staff here at Nativity that are still learning and coming up with new ideas. I mean, I just had our newest employee had an idea. He just saw the system for the first time yesterday, and he's like, what would be really great is if we could do this. And the beauty of the system is it's so flexible. You can do anything you want with it. If you can dream it, you can build it. And so we're going to build it. So it's been a really great partnership over the years.
That's incredible. Now,
Brandon has been, and others have been really important in that. And I would say we have started to conduct some of our own on-site meetings with ministry platform customers in particular. Brandon's been really gracious with his time to take part in those and to interact with them. And they all help each other. In the end, really, it's about that community within the community to think about how can we use this system to really be effective in our ministry and as Brandon said, a big part of it is to make sure no one falls through the cracks. And too often the complaint is I left, or I was ill, or something happened and no one called me, no one followed up with me. We don't want that to happen. And so there are ways to minimize that and hopefully make it zero.
That's incredible. Now, you talk a lot, you're just talking about collaboration and how Brandon and some other leaders have come together to help with this. Let's talk about another collaboration and how you are collaborating with us as a sponsor for the Rebuilt Conference that's coming up June 2nd and 3rd. So, Terry, what made you decide to sponsor this conference?
There was no time for decision in it. We want to be a sponsor and support the Rebuilt, apostolate and the work that's being done. So the conference was an easy one for us. I believe that it's appropriate for us to invest in the wonderful resource that the Rebuilt Apostolate is for parishes across the country. Rebuilt, to me, first of all, having it start within a parish with the leaders in the parish has been, I think, really monumental in rethinking the value of how we minister. And rather than doing lots of stuff, do the right things and do it well. And that I think is a wonderful background, sort of core to where it all started. But this is an organization that is helping us to think about how do we look outward, how do we connect with and invite people, but not only that, then how do we involve everyone who's in the parish in some activity to make them active participants in the parish, which to me is monumental and different from what I see from other organizations. Find a way for everyone to have a role. And so, I often find myself repeating some of the things that I've learned from Rebuilt, because we believe in Rebuilt. We believe in the mission of the organization and the good works that are being done. So we're very happy to be a sponsor of this and grateful to be part of it.
Well, this is exciting because you and your team will be at the conference, right? So people will get to come and meet you and talk to you. So what excites you most about being a part of this event and connecting with parish leaders?
It's exciting for us to be able to see in person and hear in person the hopes and dreams of the attendees, what they're seeking. That will help us be stronger in what we're doing and why. I'm also excited for our manager of business development and one of our key sales engineer are doing a presentation on welcome and using technology to extend and you're welcome to really know how to welcome people, but then how to accompany them over the long haul and make sure that they are active participants in the parish. So we're excited for people to we hope will attend that session, and we're excited to be able to meet them and hopefully provide some meaningful ideas for the attendees there at the conference.
That's exciting that you'll be not just present, not just at the vendor showcase, but you and your team will be leading one of the breakout sessions. So that's incredible. And we will have the link to register right in our show notes today. And anyone who registers can then look through and see where those breakout sessions are and choose the one with ACST Catholic. I love that. So, Brandon, how has your partnership with ACST Catholic, how has that played a role in Church of the Nativity's growth and the renewal journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Terry touched on it a little bit by saying, we're forward looking. We're looking for ways to engage people as they come through the door through that welcome. I mean, everybody at parish can get behind that, right? That every person that comes through your doors should be welcomed, right? Well, we're taking that a step further. We're not just using a system to report out and see what happened. We're using this information to help drive growth in the parish, both when people come in through the front door with our assimilation path, and then also making sure that people don't fall through the cracks and using that information that we have in the system to help drive further growth. For example, if you're in a small group but not yet on a serving team, how can we get you to get onto a serving team, and using ministry platform and the data that's in there to help drive that. That's really how we've been able to leverage the information that we have in ministry platform to help drive that.
This is incredible. Terry, I'm excited about all of this because I feel like, when you take looking at not just the data, but then how we can get somebody to engage in the next step, I'm excited to see what the two of you are going to be able to do during the conference to help other parishes kind of make some of these decisions about what their next right step is.
We enjoy that conversation. My team, we all interact with Brandon regularly just because he's so generous with his time. So I can't thank him enough for his willingness to just engage and talk with parishes. I think the joint benefit then for all of us is we see and hear from a lot of different people in different circumstances about their level of understanding, their level of expectation, what they'd like to do, and then think through ways of being able to help them accomplish that, because it's an ongoing journey. But I think that the desire to move forward so that we are truly evangelizing, we are truly welcoming, we are truly accompanying to help move people in their faith and have them deeply connected to the parish in the right ways, because we have meaningful roles for them that are also formational in their time is where we need to be. So it's all really exciting, really important, I think, for us. And I am convinced that we do have to continue to adjust the culture of how we operate as parishes. And Nativity's kind of out ahead of that a lot, actually, in terms of how they've been thinking about it. And Brandon's right in the forefront of this. How do we keep moving forward? How do we keep growing in a way that's meaningful by serving our community and then helping people move forward while they're in the parish? So I think Brandon said it in one of the meetings we've done in the past, is it's not easy to be a parishioner at Nativity. You're welcome, but we don't make it easy to just do nothing. There are some expectations of you. And I know that the idea of covenants of parishioners is something that's used across different parishes in the country. But thinking about, we are all owners of our parish and our parish community, and then having something that can help all of that move forward, because it's way more than any group of leaders or pastor can do by themselves. We need the resources that can help us accomplish these things. I think we have them.
For sure. Now, I want to ask both of you this question. So, Brandon, we're going to start with you first. What would you say to parish leaders who are hesitant to embrace new technology in their parish?
That's a great question. And as Terry was speaking just now, I was reminded of the first time that I attended a conference with other church leaders who were further down the path than we were. And it was both inspiring and overwhelming. They just seemed like they were so far out in front of us. But what it did for me, I'll just speak for myself, it was like a eureka moment for me of like, oh, we can use this technology to grow our parish, further the mission, make disciples. And we can use technology to do that. And I didn't know how to do it, but going and hearing from people who are working in parishes that are further down the path gave that inspiration for us to come back to our parish and be like, okay, if they figured it out, I know we can figure it out. It's not going to look the same. How they're doing it is great for them, but how can we apply the similar principles in our own parish and further our own parish? And so that's what I'm excited about this conference, is that people who come, I'm hopeful that there might be a bit of being overwhelmed, and that's fine, but I want them to be inspired of like, oh, I can do this. It's not going to look exactly like Nativity, and that's great. That's fine. But if you can take some principles back to your home parish and apply them in your own setting, that's really what I'm most excited about. And, I'm a technology guy, so my angle is going to all be on like, how can technology enable? But there's so much more in the conference beyond that of just what's our next step as a parish? How can we make the next step to better ourselves? So that's what I'm excited about.
Absolutely. Brandon, I think you hit the nail on the head in a couple of different ways. So first, that, you were inspired by these other parishes, these other churches who had, just done so much. But what you're talking about there is that, can you imagine? Like, you could imagine it at that conference. And now we're asking those coming to this conference, can you imagine what can happen in your parish? But also the second thing, and I think this applies for everything with the conference and everything Rebuilt does, is we are not trying to make mini nativities out of these other parishes that we're helping. We want to help every parish become the best version of themselves, whatever that looks like. And we want to help them imagine what that can look like at this conference.
You hit the nail on the head. Yes, we do not want to make a bunch of mini nativities. We want the best version of the parish in their setting that we possibly can, and giving tools to enable that is part of that.
For sure. Well, Terry, I would love to hear from you now. What would you say to parish leaders who might be hesitant to embrace new technology in their parish?
I would say a couple of things. One is one step at a time. So there's, it's an incremental journey, and you can't go from 0 to, 65 right away, or however fast you want to go. I would also say this, though, if it's the pastor, father, and your team, must have an attitude of wanting to make change.
Yes.
And a desire and an understanding that you and or some of your people are going to be more deeply involved in the software, because it requires that. It requires that we're good stewards of this resource in a way that we're applying it and we're using it. And so it really, if how you're thinking is, I really don't want to have anything to do with it, I just want it to be over there and get the answer when I need it, then you need a shift in mindset to really do what we're talking about. And I think that would be true of any parish that's thinking about engaging with Rebuilt, because all of the structural and behavioral things that would be discussed, that's call it the soft side if you want. I mean, it's hard, but it's equally the same kind of engagement with the software that's necessary to accomplish this. So I just like understand the implications of what we're talking about. It can be a shift in how you think about how you use your resources, in addition to your desire to become more effective in your ministry and your leadership.
Definitely. And Terry, what you said there about the pastor and the parish leaders needing to be hands-on, that's so important. The pastor and the parish leaders need to be bought in for anything regarding change in the parish, whether it's parish renewal overall, technology. If you don't have the blessing and that commitment from the pastor and your strategic leaders, it's not going to go anywhere. So that was a key insight right there. Well, Terry, if a parish leader wants to explore how ACST Catholic can help their parish, where should they start?
Oh, goodness. I don't have the phone number off the top of my head. Call us.
Well, we can put that in the show notes.
We certainly would welcome a call, a resource. Sometimes people don't realize we have a subset of the website that's very specific to ACST Catholic, and it is www.acstcatholic.com, because there's a large ACST website. This is acstcatholic.com. And certainly, I'm happy to field anything that will come my way and get it to the right people in the organization. So happy for that. And my email is terryp@acst.com. So that's one way to get in touch with us easily.
Thank you, Terry. We'll put all of that in the show notes just to make it easier for our listeners today. Well,
Thank
Brandon, any final thoughts on parishes considering any new tech solutions for their ministry?
Yeah, I heard this at a conference once, and I'm going to totally rip it off because it was beautiful. At least I thought it was. If the Apostle Paul came back today and had a conversation with you, and you were trying to tell him, no, we don't want to use technology, we don't want to use the internet, we don't want to use church management, what do you think he would say? he would say, "You're crazy. You've got all of this at your fingertips, all of this information at your fingertips. It's so easy to communicate. There's tools available to help you communicate effectively, to spread the gospel across the world. Why would you not use that? Why would you not leverage that?" And so that's one of our rally cries here of how can we leverage technology to help, spread the gospel. That's what we're called to do. So why not use every tool at your disposal?
Absolutely. Brandon, I think you shared that with me years ago, and that just it hit me hard. I was like, oh, yes, we have no excuse not to use all of this. We look at how much, the Apostle Paul was able to do by writing letters and traveling on foot, by boat, however he could. This is way easier than that, right?
No one's asking you to journey thousands of miles on foot, right?
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Well, to build on that a little bit, if I might, Alyssa, just at the same time, something I ripped off was the time of the apostles was actually the time when the Roman Empire had built roads. So roads were first established at that time, so they had a place to walk for the most part to get to main territory. Today's roads are technology.
Yes.
And so our time now is we are at a time when we must go out, and our way of going out is yes, it can be by a road, but not just in person, but digitally we can accomplish that now. So there is a parallel there. And I just also find myself reflecting often on St. Teresa of Avila, who, to paraphrase, talks about Christ has only one set of hands, eyes, and feet with which to go about the earth. And we need an extension of our hands, eyes, and feet that can be accomplished through technology. So I do really think what Brandon's saying is a really good reminder for us that this is our new now, and we have resources that can help us do it.
I think those two examples you both just shared just fit hand in hand, and I love those. We've got the Apostle Paul as our example, and those roads are now technology. Those are perfect. Well, Terry, Brandon, thank you both so much for joining us today. I'm excited that everyone's going to get the opportunity to meet the both of you at the Rebuilt Conference, June 2nd and 3rd in Timonium, Maryland.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to our listeners, and we will see you next time.